police used a special chemical called aluminum, which makes drops of blood hemoglobin glow in the dark, even if they have been washed away and are small and faded.
We found traces of blood in the living room and dining room area of Ann Anton's apartment. Look at that. Look at that. The trail of blood just outside of Anna Anton's door was quite heavy. The trail then led up the stairs to Greg Webb's apartment. Here, right at the top of the stairs. Okay. My main concern at that particular time was attempting to obtain a search warrant for Greg Webb's apartment.
During the police investigation, Greg Webb left his apartment. The next day, he withdrew $3,000 and then disappeared. 5 days later, armed with a warrant, investigator Krieger searched the chief's apartment.
Well, why don't you go ahead and get the kitchen here? Okay. Right, we did find a mop. It did have a trace of blood that was later shown to be the same type as Anna Anton's.
Sure, you might take a look at that.
In the bedroom closet, police found a military-style coat with several spots of blood. These stains proved to be the same blood type as Anna Anton's.
Okay. Once I started checking into Anna Anton's background, I learned that she had two separate lives. One life down here in Lyons, Nebraska, where she was very religious, and the other was on the park where she would refer to as a bar cruise.
Danny! Danny! Hi, how are you?
She did carry on with men.
You get better looking every day.
This is where Anna Anton and Greg Webb had met.
I'll introduce you to a friend of mine. This is Greg Webb, Chief of Police at Lyons, Nebraska.
Greg and Anna became friends. When Anna told him she was looking for a place to live, Webb suggested that she move into an unoccupied apartment in his building.
I think Anna Anton moved here with the anticipation that her and Greg Webb may have something in common, possibly maybe eventually getting together, maybe marriage.
Anna was infatuated with Webb. She soon learned that he had another girlfriend.
Anna seemed to be preoccupied with the fact that Greg had this girlfriend. In fact, they were not married, but evidently sleeping together. She talked about laying in bed at night and hearing them upstairs making love, and it bothered her. She could turn the stereo on. She felt that it was a sin to the point that she would get holy water and sprinkle it up and down the steps and on the doorknobs.
Investigator Krieger has learned that the night of Anna's death, Greg Webb was intoxicated.
I believe Anna Anton's death could have resulted from a fight that might have occurred due to the fact that Anna Anton had found out about this other woman and confronted Greg Webb about it.
Give me that shit! I'm not gonna...
It was learned that during the following day, in the early morning hours, Greg Webb was seen carrying something from his house out to the trunk of his car. And it was learned later that what he was carrying was actually Anna Anton.
The police believe Webb removed all of Anna's clothing and carefully washed her body before she was carried from the apartment. It is possible that Anna's body was left in that particular farmer's field because Webb knew the land was part of an Indian reservation, which would cause jurisdiction problems for the authorities.
I feel that Greg Webb might have thought that he had committed the perfect crime, the way he had disposed of the body, and also the fact that he would have known about Anna Anton's ex-husband.
On January 6, 1987, a warrant was issued for Police Chief Greg Webb's arrest. He was charged with first-degree murder. Update. Greg Webb is now in custody. When this story was rerun in February of 1993, An alert viewer in Orlando, Florida, recognized Webb as a man he knew as Jim Weber, a construction worker.
Well, when I was watching it and they showed Greg when he came on, they mentioned him as Greg Webb, and I mean, it looked just like the guy who was Jim. And again, they'd said it was Greg, and it was Greg Webb, and I knew him as Gregory James Weber, and he went by Jim Weber. So I just put the two together. I have to say it just looked just like him, so it was quite a shock.
Florida had faxed me photographs of the driver's license that was issued under Gregory James Weber. And once I did see the photographs, I knew that was Gregory John Webb. The arrest went very well. There wasn't any resistance whatsoever. We took him by surprise, and he was arrested at an on-site construction site.
Next, the story of two brothers who had a heartwarming reunion at a deserted gas station in rural Oklahoma 25 years after they were separated. They are looking for their lost siblings. Perhaps you can help find them. Sadly, 1 out of every 30 children in America suffers from child abuse. For these victims, healing the wounds is a long, painful process. In our next story, 5 brothers and their sister were put up for adoption after a particularly brutal and violent childhood, and for 23 years never saw each other again. Now they want to purge the hate and bitterness from their past. They are hoping that if they can be reunited, they will be able to exorcise those terrible memories that are still a part of their lives. Locust Grove, Oklahoma. In 1959, Edith Rogers, her husband Top Rogers, and their 6 children all lived in this remote rural community. Life was hard for the Rogers family. There was little money, even for the necessities of life.
For clothing and food, we never had much clothing, but I can remember we didn't ever wear shoes. And there was one time there I can remember going out without food for several days. Getting where I got so weak that I was in bed, and it seemed like the people of the town of Locust Grove brought us some food out to eat. I think that's one of those times Mom and Dad run off on one of their drunks.
Ain't nobody in this house gonna keep you.
Top Rogers' frequent drinking led to regular beatings for his wife and children.
One night, I grabbed a stick of wood out of the stove box and run at him. He hit me, knocked me across the floor, and threw a kitchen knife at me. I got memories of him being a good man, but 90% of the time he seemed like he was drunk, and that's when he was mean.
By 1960, the family had only a little happiness and no real future.
Well, Mom come in the house, gave us a present, said this would be the last chance she'd get to give it to us. Said that your kids are gonna have to go away.
In the spring of 1960, the court ruled that Edith and Top were unfit parents, and in June, social workers arrived at the Rogers log cabin. The children were taken away to the local Pryor orphanage home.
They said they was gonna take us away, we'd never get to come back again. It didn't really hit us right then what was happening. Later on, it really took effect, we lost our mom and dad.
She didn't even really have any family. It was just Dad and us kids. There's just nothing else to live for except more of the same that she got from him. A few more beatings. She missed us so bad. I know how that must have tore her heart out.
6 months later, Edith Rogers committed suicide by swallowing poison.
I can't say that I would have done the same thing. I just wish she'd have been strong enough to endure it. We were all she had when we were gone. Her life was over. But she probably died before she even died.
children's father, Top Roberts, had been arrested in Arkansas, charged with killing a man in a fight. Handcuffed, he was escorted back to Oklahoma to attend his wife's funeral. Here, in these few sad moments, Roger's children were reunited for the last time.
The memorial service of Edith Rogers. It has been requested that we close the service today with singing the old hymn, Silent Night. Would you please join me, please? Silent night, holy night, all is dark.
At the time, I thought that was a strange song to be singing at the funeral. It'd get me down every time I hear that song afterwards. It wasn't a Christmas carol to me. It was a death song. Losing your mother and all your brothers, you might as well shot him in the heart. It wouldn't have been any more painful.
After the service, the children were once again separated. They were subsequently adopted into 6 different homes where they grew up, isolated from each other. "23 years later, Ella May, who is now called Celia Wagner, wrote a letter to the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. At the same time, Johnny Lee, whose name is now John Rieger, also contacted the same authorities. On February 10, 1984, Celia and John were reunited in the suburb of Oklahoma City.
Okay, how are you?
When I met him, it was just a neat feeling.
We were both lit up like the Christmas tree.
I felt like I'd known him all my life, and that was the strangest part.
We sat and visited for hours. And within 3 weeks of that, we found Robert. When they told me I'd never see my brother and sister again, I knew better than that. 'Cause I knew I loved them, and they was my family, and I was going to find them. And that never left my mind for 26 years.
Robert and John agreed to meet on a Sunday morning in April 1984 at a gas station only 20 miles from their childhood home at Locust Grove.
Well, when he got out of his pickup, it just seemed like an empty spot in my heart had been filled. Little brother, my foot, you're bigger than I am. How are you? Just fine. How are you? I'm good. I've waited all my life. So have I. There was a great love there. Remember, they could send 10 people to replace John, and I don't think I'd have felt it. I think I'd have seen through it. And I can't explain it. That's just the way it was.
In the spring of 1984, the third brother Vernon was found. In April, John and Celia agreed to meet Robert in Locust Grove, where they had all been born, and try to exorcise the ghosts of their past. It would be the first time in 24 years that they would be going home. All 3 had mixed feelings about the trip. They worried that seeing the log cabin would awaken long-buried memories of a truly unhappy childhood.
I came to find answers to the questions of who I am, and my past, my roots.
Parents teach your children to love when they're little, or they teach them to hate. You taught me to hate.
You pull up there, like to the log cabin, and it's like you finally found your roots. It was like going home,
Looks like it's been lived in a while. Sure does. he told me that I had like scars on my back and on my legs, way more scars than what most normal kids my age should have.
We all got a lot of weapons, and they was usually severe beatings.
I didn't have any physical scars, but they were mental.
You know, myself, I feel we're way better off getting adopted out. I imagine both of y'all feel the same way, don't you?
Right.
Later that day, they went to the cemetery to find their mother's grave. They discovered their father had also died 8 years before.
Here it is. I found it over here.
Very much 80, at least 18 solid years. That lived in my mind. Some of the things that he done when I was a child, I had full intention of going back. When I got older, giving him a chance to do it again. The day that I got to my father's grave, the hate kind of left me. It died. And I wish then that he was still alive so I could say I was sorry and maybe he would tell me he was sorry.
As much alike as the three of us are, I tend to believe that the other two are a lot similar and probably have the same needs and pains that we went through. And I think finding the other two brothers, when that day comes, it will be the climax of the whole story for us, you know.
Of the remaining two untraced brothers, Billy is the youngest of the 6 children, who was born in 1959. Billy would now be 30 years old. Joey was born in 1957 and is a brother between Robert and John. He would probably remember his brothers and would currently be 32 years old.
The happy ending to this story to me is when I get a phone call from my other brothers. That'd be the truly happy ending, to have found them.
Thanks to our broadcast, John Rieger's dream of a happy ending became a reality. The morning after the story aired, John contacted his brothers Joey and Billy for the first time in almost 30 years. The Rogers children immediately made arrangements for a reunion. Joey was 5 and Billy just a year old when the family was separated. On the morning of October 27th, 34-year-old Joey, whose adopted name was Rusty Dunn, arrived with his sister senior school in Oklahoma City. Rusty lives only 36 miles from his brother John. Amazingly, they have mutual friends and even met socially on a number of occasions.
Been by shoulder several times in several places. We were within speaking distance of each other, and I've seen him eye to eye, and I never would have known he was my brother.
Later that day, the youngest of the Rogers children, Billy, whose name is now Chuck Young, arrived at the airport and was greeted by his brothers and sister. Chuck, who lives in Tennessee, watched our broadcast and was shocked when he realized that he was one of the missing brothers.
At the end of the show, they put the family picture together. Well, I seen me sitting there, and I just got up out of the chair and I said, that's me, you know, they're looking for me.
The Rogers family, this reunion marks the beginning of a new chapter in their lives.
I think what we were all looking for was the part of our hearts that was torn out years ago. And now, you know, I don't hurt anymore because that part of my heart has been replaced. It's back again, and it feels good.
This is Thursday. I want you all to know I love all of you. I'm glad to see you here today.
of the fugitives profiled and unsolved mysteries have been captured because of vital information received from our viewers. One of those fugitives was John Mooney, who 8 years ago escaped from a Georgia prison where he was serving a life sentence for murder. In the early morning hours of August 30th, 1977, an Athens, Georgia restaurant owner named T.K. Hardy was murdered while reading in his study at home. The prime suspect in the case was John Mooney, a rival restaurant owner who had a long-running feud with Hardy. 4 weeks later, police got their first break in the case. A local restaurant manager told them that an Atlanta electrician named Elmo Florence had bragged that he killed T.K. Hardy and that John Mooney had paid him to do it. On June 20th, 1978, Elmo Florence was convicted of first-degree murder. John Mooney was also convicted of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in a maximum security prison. But 3 months later, he was transferred to a minimum security facility. On March 16th, 1980, he escaped. Update, Scottsdale, Arizona. Within minutes of our broadcast, 2 viewers called our telecenter to report that John Mooney was living in this house under the assumed name Robert J. Kelly. On August 8th, John Mooney, alias Robert Kelly, was arrested at his home by the Mesa police. Mooney had been living in Arizona since 1982. He was enrolled at Arizona State University. For the past several years, he had been working as an accountant for various companies in the Scottsdale area. Mooney married 6 years ago and has a 1-year-old child. On September 16, 1989, over 9 years after he escaped, John Mooney was returned to Georgia.
The Academy Theater, the atmosphere is electric. Even though I haven't been 15 other ceremonies, I never...
April 10th, 1967, the night of the Oscars. Like millions of Americans, Ralph Probst and his wife Marlene settled down in front of the television and watched the ceremony.
So we were watching the Academy Awards on TV that night, and I must have dozed off. And the next thing I knew, there was this loud explosion that woke me up. I saw this cloud of smoke from behind the television set. When I went in the kitchen, Ralph was laying on the kitchen floor.
Ralph Probst had been shot once in the back of the head. By the time Marlene was able to summon help, her husband was dead. Never regained consciousness. Ralph Probst was a 30-year-old Cook County, Illinois sheriff's officer. In addition to Marlene, Ralph left behind 3 small children, and a series of baffling questions that over 23 years later remain unanswered. 4 days after his murder, Officer Probst was laid to rest. Among the mourners was a fellow officer, Bob Borowski. On that afternoon, he made a silent pledge.
As I stood beside the casket and looked down at Ralph, I made a vow to him that I would find his killer and I would not rest until I get him. I figured it would be solved quickly, but it didn't turn out that way.
Bob Borowski is still trying to keep his promise. It is said that there is no such thing as the perfect crime. For more than 2 decades, the murder of Ralph Probst has come uncomfortably close. Evidence left at the scene pointed to a carefully planned and premeditated crime, but to date no motive has been established. Today, 23 years later, Bob Borowski carries on the search for his partner's killer. Bob Borowski and Ralph Probst met for the first time in 1964, shortly after Ralph graduated from the police academy.
Okay, gentlemen, let's take off your inspection.
The 2 men were both assigned to an elite unit called the Tactical Squad. Ralph had originally been a chemical engineer, but then decided to pursue a career in law enforcement.
Looking good. Folks,
The Borowski got Stickney Township tonight. We had a lot of problems out there last night.
Everybody else in the department looked up at the tech unit. We were a very elite unit. We were all spit and polish, and we were a very proud bunch. Ralph was not only a partner, but he was also a friend, and it was that sort of relationship. You could depend on him, and he could depend on you.
Ralph soon earned a reputation as a man who played strictly by the rules. This inflexibility earned him at least one bitter enemy. A few months before his death, Ralph and Bob were two of the officers assigned a guard duty to the notorious mobster Sam DiStefano. DiStefano had been convicted and sentenced on charges of conspiracy, but had been transferred from prison to a local hospital for complaining of stomach. Very good.
Blackney's gonna guard me. Sam, can't have any visitors here. You folks are gonna have to go. Come on, you're my doctor. Holy doctor. Don't steal my apple. Get your hands off of her. Call my lawyer.
You're also going to have to eat the regular hospital food just like everyone else in the hospital.
No, I am.
As a matter of fact, I do. That's why you're here. Now, lie down on the bed.
What are you doing?
When Ralph handcuffed DiStefano to the bed, he became very irate and threatened to kill him.
You better go ice the back of your head. Be outside. Get out of here.
We really didn't take it very serious. We felt that he was just a big bad weapon and just brushed it off.
I don't think that the risk ever entered Ralph's mind. I really don't. I think to him it was a job. He enjoyed it. And I don't think he was ever afraid. I imagine in the back of anyone's mind that something could happen. But I don't think he dwelled on it.
On the night of Ralph's death, police were confronted by an unusual pattern of circumstantial evidence. It appeared as if Ralph had been shot through the kitchen window.
Okay, now secure the house. Make sure nobody gets into it doesn't belong. I don't care who it is.
Police canvassed the neighborhood looking for witnesses. Though the killer was allegedly standing outside the house, nobody saw the gun. But a few people did hear a shot.
Good clear shot of this ricochet mark.
The bullet that killed Ralph had ricocheted off the kitchen cabinet and then fallen onto the stove. This bullet had been fired from a rare .41 caliber magnum, a gun that had only recently been manufactured.
Keep your eyes and ears working at what's going on the street. See if any talk. Contact all your informants.
Though there were only 2,000 of these guns in the United States, police were unable to locate the murderer. And in spite of a huge manhunt, there are no suspects, no other leads.
Okay, we don't have a motive on this one yet. It could be some nut who just doesn't like police officers. So when you're out there, be very careful.
One likely suspect, Sam